Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Firstly, I would like to thank schools, teachers and school leaders for working tirelessly throughout the pandemic. Now, a polite way to describe the government's approach to education during COVID-19 would be headline grabbing. From the exams debacle and discriminatory algorithms to unclear guidance on public health measures in education settings, free school meals and January's U-turn on the return to schools, government planning in the COVID crisis has felt a little knee-jerk and reactive. And sometimes these reactions have been incredibly slow. Despite the new academic year starting in September, the exam scandal last summer, and a chorus of requests from teaching unions and educators, ministers only today published their plans for using teacher-assessed grades. I would also like to point out that it does sometimes feel like things are being made up as we go along, which is why I think this debate is so important, so we can have a clear roadmap for young people, parents and educators, so we all know the plan and no one is left behind. But today, Madam Deputy Speaker, I want to focus on one group that have at times been completely ignored during the public health crisis: children and young people with special educational needs, disabilities and their families. Today's debate is about national education route map for schools and colleges in response to the outbreak. Any route map must acknowledge the journey that many SEND families have already been on during this crisis and plot a way forward for them too. Even before coronavirus, SEND provision was in crisis. Both the Education Select Committee and the Public Accounts Committee have provided damning assessments of the state of education for people with SEND. And now we are still awaiting the SEND review. It again has been delayed. Ministers have explained that the multiple delays have been caused by the public health crisis, but COVID-19 is more of a reason to publish this review, not less. I sit on the Public Accounts Committee where I heard care home witnesses say that people with learning disabilities were very much ignored at the start of the pandemic. We were discussing PPE provision, but I think it's a fair summary of how people are feeling, and the same can be said for education. I've heard similar whilst chairing the APPG on SEND during our inquiry into the provision of during COVID-19. SEND families have faced massive amounts of pressure throughout this public health crisis,